keep on loving boldly, never turning back, never turning back.
Good to be here with all you today, friends. We begin today by remembering that we are on the traditional land of the Lenape people who still live in this region, even as many live in diaspora in places like Oklahoma, where their ancestors were forced to relocate. We also remember that before colonization, the air here was clear. The river and creeks were clean. The soil was rich, and for thousands of years gave the Lenape people everything they needed to live good lives. When European colonizers came here, they brought a worldview that encouraged people to take more than they needed and prioritize making money over all else. That worldview persists in the way Vanguard does business today. The colonial mindset that led to both the exploitation of African peoples and the taking of indigenous lands can still be felt in the business practices of many of the companies that Vanguard invests in. Some, like Chevron and Enbridge, flagrantly violate indigenous rights. Others, like many companies operating in Chester, act as if Black lives do not matter. We acknowledge the Black and indigenous peoples who have long fought these exploitive systems, while Quaker Action Team draws inspiration from the Quakers who also opposed them. We acknowledge that Quakers historically profited from these systems more than they protested them. And as we pressure Vanguard today, we seek to decolonize our own hearts and minds as we move step by step towards the change that we know is possible. So today, when I was thinking about our persistence action, and we've been here many times at Vanguard, I wanted to think about something that could ground us and maybe inspire us. And my first thought goes from the land acknowledgement and the fact that this is the Great Valley and that the Quakers were the first ones into the Great Valley. In fact, the founders of the meeting that I belong to, further up the Great Valley meeting, were some of those first people that came into this valley. And it was very fertile, and they profited from the fertile land that was here and the pure air and water. And of course, all that was a slave-based economy in those days, and it was exploitive. And there were a few people who did object in those early days, especially to slavery. And the person I draw inspiration from today is John Woolman. And he, in the 18th century, would go sit with the Quaker slave owners. And he was very persistent. And he would visit and reason, and he didn't give up. And he was very successful in those days. Another thing that he did was that he looked at the owners and he said, this is bad for you too. This is bad for you spiritually to do this. So as we appeal to Vanguard and to their executives to meet our interim demands, which is why one of the reasons we're here today, I think about John Woolman and how he thought that was bad for the slave owners. And today I think it's bad to practice these business practices that harm so many people in frontline communities. And we don't hold any malice towards anybody over at Vanguard or the executives, but we're going to be firm. And but we're still going to do this with love. And that's what I want to think about today as we do this, that we do it with love. I'd like us to hold hands if we can. I only have one hand myself, but we'll go around that way. And to think about how this land was, that the ground underneath our feet is the land that was always here, and the air and even the little bit of rain that we're sort of enjoying today. That's all part of what was here, and that spirit, it still exists and it still endures. And as we go over to Vanguard, I know this is a lot of us today have gone out of our comfort zones, and we've done this many times, and we've assumed many different roles, and it's not easy. And think about the folks that really stepped out and pushed the boundaries this morning to go into the offices of Vanguard and face the consequences of that today. But I do want to emphasize that what we're doing, and as we do this today, we're going to do with love. And with that, I think we could sing the song lead with love as we break up here and begin to think about going over to Vanguard.
Lift up your eyes. Lift up your eyes. Don't you despair.
Don't you despair.
Look up ahead.
Look up ahead.
The path is there.
The path is there.
We're gonna put
One foot in front of the other and lead with love. One foot in front of the other and lead with love.
Don't give up hope. You're not alone.
You're not alone.
Don't you give up.
Don't you give up.
We're here today until climate justice is found. Our action today is called Persistence for Existence. Thank you all for being here. This action is part of not only years of action in the Vanguard SOS campaign, but it is also part of a strategic focus for the last many months on new CEO Salim Ramji and interim demands that we think Vanguard could take today to make steps toward a more livable future. And there have been actions, again, not just for years, not just for months, but there have been thousands of emails and letters to Vanguard executives. There have been dozens of actions, and this morning, people of conscience showed up at executives' offices asking again that they meet with the Vanguard SOS campaign, that they commit to truly steward the future in a actually sustainable way. And instead of listening for once to these demands, sitting down in good faith and planning for the future, our friends were arrested this morning. So thank you all for being with us, for continuing to persist in the face of Vanguard's inaction. Vanguard is the world's largest investor in fossil fuels, with over $444 billion invested in coal, oil, and gas, including $184 billion in expansion alone. I'm honored today to welcome one of our new allies in this campaign. This campaign is growing. EQAT is just one piece of an international effort to hold Vanguard accountable. And I am honored today to introduce one of our dear friends in this work, coming all the way from Washington, D.C., Brett from American Friends Service Committee. Brett, thank you for being here.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Brett Hines. I'm from the American Friends Service Committee up here, as my friend Lena said, today from Washington, D.C. AFSC was founded in 1917 by a group of Quaker activists who dedicated themselves fully to the idea that every single human life is equally valuable. And they've tried to live up to that credo everywhere that they've gone ever since. In World War I, when the devastation of the war created a wave of child hunger across Europe, we responded by providing aid. When labor unions were threatened by the actions of big corporations, we stood by their side. And it's that exact same line of struggle that we've brought everywhere we can, from California to Maine, from El Salvador to Palestine, that brings me here today. Because Vanguard, at this exact moment, every single year is spending nearly $500 billion in investments in fossil fuel companies. $500 billion in the very same companies that are choking our waterways with toxic pollution, that are choking out our air with the same toxic pollution, that are threatening the future of this planet with their greenhouse gas emissions. Vanguard, this massive giant of finance that we're here in front of today, seems to have lost all of its reason in pursuit of short-term profits. The corporate executives here at Vanguard don't seem aware of the fact that every new beach house that they acquire on the coast is just made from the money of fossil fuels, money that will bring one more inch of water into these vacation homes. They've forgotten that every dollar spent on coal, on oil, on gas today is several dollars that their neighbors are going to have to spend on medical bills, from asthma, from cancer, from other environmental related diseases. They've forgotten, or they simply just don't care, that all of the money that they're making on dirty energy today will be paid over many times again by the generations of tomorrow. Because the truth is, Vanguard has been doing this for quite a while now, and it's not just their climate work either. Sometimes looking down the list of companies that Vanguard invests in feels like looking at a roster of corporate criminals. Palantir is a corrupt military contractor that right now is funding mass deportations and is funding mass surveillance systems that are a threat to individual liberty everywhere. Their number one institutional investor is Vanguard. Microsoft, according to recent reporting, has been taking the private data of Palestinians and sharing it with the Israeli government in order to continue an ongoing genocide. Their number one institutional investor is Vanguard. JP Morgan Chase, a good friend of mine, has been essentially running a business model on corporate crime since their foundation. Since the year 2000, they've racked up $40 billion in fines for breaking the law, and not a single executive has gone to jail. Do the math on that, and it means that since you've woken up this morning, JP Morgan has committed $1 million in crime. Their number one institutional investor is Vanguard. So when I heard about a group of Quaker activists who was involved in standing up to this legacy of environmental destruction and of human rights violations here in Philadelphia, I thought to myself, this is somewhere that AFSC belongs. This is a continuation of a long-running struggle against corporate profiteering that comes at the expense of our communities, at the expense of our families, and at the expense of human lives. All we're asking here today, really, is for Vanguard to live up to its own words. I'd actually like to read word for word from a statement that Vanguard gave when they decided to pull out all of their investments from Russia after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. During times like these, we are guided by our commitment to do what's right for our clients, our employees, and our communities. When they made that decision to pull these investments out of Russia, they were recognizing a basic truth. And the truth is that Vanguard is responsible for the actions of some of the companies that it is investing in.
That's right.
And we need them to be consistent in recognizing that, and recognize that they are also responsible for the climate crisis because of their $500 billion in annual investments in these companies that are destroying our Earth's atmosphere and destroying the planet that we all live on and enjoy. Now, if they are truly guided by a commitment to do what is right, as they so say that they are, then they can make a move that would show us so. They could come down out of these offices right behind us, and they could start a conversation about what investing in a better future looks like. Not an empty conversation, not empty promises of vague things that they might do at some point in the future, but a real conversation about what a bright future looks like and about what investment policies mean to create that bright future. Now, they may think that they have time on their side, that they have size on their side, that they have scale on their side. But what they don't understand is that I'm coming here today from an organization that's been around longer than theirs has.
That's right.
For more than 100 years, we've been showing up wherever people are working for a better world and standing by them. And I'm wanting to let Vanguard know that we're not going anywhere. This is a struggle for a better world, and it's a struggle that we intend upon winning. Whether tomorrow or 100 years from now, EQAT and other groups all around this country and all around this world are going to make it very clear that profits can't come before people, that corporations can't come before communities, and that a better world is not only possible, but that we're not going to rest until we find a way to make it happen. So please, if you haven't already, come join us. Come listen to what we have to say. Come to vanguard-sos.com to learn more about Vanguard's responsibility in the climate crisis, and to learn about how you can join us in taking your money out of this company until they recognize their basic responsibility to the earth. Because we're going to be here until they recognize that, and we're going to let them know that unless there's a planet, there aren't going to be any profits on it.
That's right.
Thank you all. Thank you all for being here.
People gonna rise like the water. We're gonna calm this crisis down. I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter singing climate justice now. People gonna rise like the water. We're gonna calm this crisis down. I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter singing Vanguard against this now.
Climate justice now. Climate justice now. Thank you all so much. There are many ways that we can take action together and have been taking action together. I talked about our dear friends this morning that we hold in our hearts who risked arrest and were arrested for their convictions, asking yet again, Mr. Ramji, CEO Ramji, please meet with the Vanguard SOS campaign. You yourself have said you believe climate change to be a financial risk. Please take action showing the seriousness and the responsibility that you take as the leader of the company that is the largest investor in climate change on the planet. I want to share some sentiments from our dear friends from Chester. Chester residents concerned for quality living, or CIRCLE, have been allies in this fight for many years. That's right. We opened some of this campaign by marching from Chester to Vanguard, 40 miles, connecting the dots from the toxic impacts of Vanguard's investments, how they are poisoning communities now, to this beautiful insulated campus where people make decisions that destroy people's health and hurt people's lives in the name of short-term profits. Our ally, Ms. Zulene Mayfield, reminds us that there can be no thriving when people are struggling to breathe, when people are struggling to survive. And Vanguard is one of the major investors in a number of polluting industries in Chester. So we hold in our hearts today not only those on the front lines in our neighborhoods, those on the front lines in Chester, but those on the front lines all around the globe who are poisoned by Vanguard's investments. As we hold in our hearts the impacts of their inaction, I invite us all to take action together today. As mentioned, thousands have written to CEO Salim Ramji. Many have called, and everyone together in this campaign has moved $57 million out of Vanguard. This is just the beginning. As Brett said, we will keep showing up until Vanguard takes true leadership. Join us today in raising your voice to CEO Ramji with everyone else. I believe we have a cue card that has the message we hope you will all join us in sending. So if you have your smartphone with you, please pull it out. Join us in this action. For example, you could write, "Dear Mr. Ramji, we're outside Vanguard right now asking you to meet with representatives of the Vanguard SOS campaign, to adopt a comprehensive indigenous rights policy, to create a fossil-free target date fund." A target date fund is one of the most common type of retirement funds. If you get a retirement fund through your employer, it very likely is a target date fund. And this is one of the main ways that Vanguard could take a step right now toward making fossil fuel-free products mainstream. We hope they will take these steps to show they're serious about the risks of climate change. I see a lot of people furiously emailing. I invite those of us who maybe aren't emailing or have already finished, while we wait for our friends to finish, just hold in your heart the stakes. Whether it's the future for yourself, the future for your family, those impacted on the front lines by Vanguard's inaction. Please hold in your heart why we are persistent.
Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on Vanguard. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on Vanguard. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on Vanguard. Hallelujah, hallelujah. You gotta walk the walk, talk the talk, stay on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Woke up this morning with my mind stay on climate. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Thank you, friends. Mark, as spiritual anchor, do you feel led to offer anything to us as we gather here?
Well, a lot of times we've come here and we've set up chairs and we've had a brief time of worship or a longer time of worship. And I think today maybe we'll have a brief time of worship to think about all that we've talked about and to think about the folks that got arrested pushing our cause this morning. So what we've done is held Quaker style worship outside in different places at Vanguard. And if you have not been to Quaker worship, it's basically we sit in expectant silence. If someone is moved to speak, they could speak today. We are all bound by time limits, but we're also here in spirit. So I would say we'll sit with this for maybe 10 minutes or so, and then we'll close. And when we close Quaker meeting, we close by shaking hands. So when I feel that we've sat with this enough and that our little meeting for worship has come to an end, I will shake hands with someone, and we can shake hands with each other then.
Thank you so much for being with us here today.
Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Never turning back. Never turning back.